This is a lovely IELTS speaking conversation with a student from Bangladesh giving you phrases and tips to make your IELTS speaking answers more effective. Hello, this is Keith from English Speaking Success and the website Keith Speaking Academy, helping you speak better English, give better answers and get a higher score on IELTS speaking. Today, I'm delighted to share this conversation with you. It's a student called Abir. He's from Bangladesh. And in this conversation, we want to show you some lovely phrases that Abir uses and also some tips to help you prepare for IELTS speaking. Do note, at times, I also give my opinion because it's a conversation. Of course, in the real IELTS speaking test, the examiner asks, you answer. The examiner does not give their opinion. That's up to you to give the answers, okay? So in this video, we'll go through the conversation. We're going to talk about, well, introductions, transport, technology and business. And also after each clip, I'll just do a small analysis of some of the language that you can also learn from Abir and practice and start to use as well. At the very end in the conversation, we talk about tips and tricks to help you learn English and prepare better for the IELTS speaking test. Right, without further ado, let's jump in. Right. Hello, Abir. Hi.
Yeah, hello. How are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. I'm very, very well. What about you?
I'm doing great. I mean, today I'm really excited about today's session.
Right. Listen, it's great to see you here. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we're going to have a conversation and talk about some different topics. I'd like to begin with you, Abir. Tell us a bit about where you and where you're from.
Well, my full name is Abir Ahmed. You can also call me Abir. And I'm from Bangladesh, South Asia. And I live in the city called Khulna, which is in the southern part of my country. And you can say this an industrial area also.
Right. Okay. And what do you do in Khulna?
Well, presently I'm a first year undergraduate student and I'm studying in the Department of Business Administration. And that's really great to listen Kulna from you.
Right.
I guess
Right. First year undergraduate student. So, and you're doing business administration. Why did you choose that subject?
I'm really passionate about that. Down the road, I have a plan to being an entrepreneur. And that's why if I'm doing business administration right now, maybe that will help me a bit. And that's why I chose that. I'm really passionate about that, basically.
Do you enjoy your classes?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, if I need to speak specifically, then marketing. Marketing fascinates me a lot. And for
Right.
this reason, I chose business administration.
Right. Fantastic. That's great. Let's look at some really useful phrases Abir uses. When I asked him, why did you choose that subject? He said, I'm really passionate about that. Right? To be passionate about something is to love something, right? It can be a hobby, subject, work, study. You can have different phrases going up in strength. You can say, I like that. I'm into that. I'm passionate about that. I'm mad about that. He also says, marketing fascinates me. Something fascinates me. It interests me a lot, really a lot, right? We could say education fascinates me. Teaching fascinates me. Can you say that? Fascinates. Great. What fascinates you? Lovely. Another beautiful phrase, it's idiomatic, that Abir uses is, down the road, I have a plan to do something. Down the road doesn't mean, well, there, it means in the future, right? Down the road, in the future. Down the road, I want to be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, somebody who works for themselves and starts a business, right? Down the road, I want to do something. What do you want to do down the road? Lovely. Let's move on. Now, you mentioned you're from Khulna, which is in the south. Did you say it was in the south of Bangladesh?
For sure,
Right.
south.
Okay. I'm interested about transport in your city. What kind of public transport do you have?
Well, in my country, basically, if I talk about public transports, then we have buses and trains, and our government has already introduced MRT and LRT, and there's a pretty convenient means of travel, I would say.
Right. And what about you? How do you get around the city?
Well, it depends. I mean, when I just need to get around my city or there's a short distance, then I choose public transport. And when I just need to get away from it all or I'm traveling somewhere else, I choose private transportation because it's really comfortable, I would say.
Right. When you mention public transport, then, so does that mean that you take the bus? Do you take the train?
It depends. I mean, sometimes I take the bus or sometimes it's train. I mean, it depends on the purpose I'm dealing with, basically.
Right. Okay. Here, where I live in Santander, we have quite a good public transport system. We have buses. The only problem with buses is they do get very, very crowded, especially in the rush hour. What's it like in your city?
Well, it's same here because our country is an overpopulated country, and public transport is pretty affordable, and for this reason, like it's a bustling city, and sometimes people get crowded there as well. We face the same issue.
Right, the same thing. And here, the government's investing a lot in improving the transport. How do you think the transport system will change in the future in your city?
I have been mulling over this a lot recently, and I guess, I mean, the way people are gathering in different public transportation or public places, the government can introduce some flyovers. They can also impose strict laws to just to decrease unlicensed vehicles. That will be pretty convenient for the pedestrians or the people who are traveling. And another thing I will say, our government has taken some of the initiatives, and we are waiting when they will get on with all this.
Hoping that it happens sooner rather than later, right? Right, talking about transport, Abir uses some really nice phrases. I asked him, how do you get around your city, right? How do you move around the city? He said, if I need to get away from it all, then he takes the bus or takes the train. To get away from it all is idiomatic, and it means really to escape the noise and activity of a city. To get away from it all. Nice expression. He then uses adverbs really well. He says something is really comfortable. He said the price is pretty affordable. Really nice. It's a simple way to make your answers more beautiful, right? Use adverbs. Really comfortable instead of very comfortable. Instead of very affordable, it's pretty affordable. You can say it's fairly affordable. It's quite affordable, or even it's reasonably affordable. These adverbs are really good. He also uses adjectives really effectively. He talks about it's a bustling city. Bustling. There's a T, but you don't pronounce the T. Bustling. This means to be very busy and active in a positive way, right? You can also say it's a buzzing city. Bustling, buzzing with a Z, a voiced Z. A buzzing city, like the buzz of the bee. Or even, it's a vibrant city. Very nice. Be careful if you say it's a crowded city or it's a noisy city. These are both slightly negative, right? Whereas bustling, buzzing, and vibrant are positive. Great. I go on to ask Abir, how will public transport change in the future down the road, right? He says, I've been mulling over this a lot recently. To mull over something is to think about something carefully, right? And he uses the present perfect continuous. Very nice. I've been mulling over this a lot recently. I've been thinking about it. Lovely. He then uses some expressions because he's talking about the government. Very often, when we're asked about changes in the future, you may talk about what the government is doing. He says the government should impose strict laws. Very nice collocation. Impose strict laws, which is to establish some strong laws. He says the government has taken some initiatives. So to take an initiative is to begin to do something that they should do, right? The government has taken some initiatives. Very nice. Let's carry on. Fantastic. I guess in most cities, a key part of transportation in the future is investing in technology. And I'm interested in technology in your country. Have there been many changes in technology in recent years?
Yeah, it has already changes because I mean, for last 2 years, we have been running up against great difficulties in terms of education. Because after COVID, what happened that all the education system is now online based, and our teachers were not that much capable because that was in the earlier stage, and we faced great amount of issues. And our government currently is working as students. We are also working to skill up our technological knowledge and other things because there's the era of cutting edge technologies. Without technology you cannot do a single day.
And how do you hone your skills around technology?
Well, what I do, I take different kind of online courses. That's the first thing. And sometimes to brush up on my skills, I practice. I try to make some tutorials on YouTube. I try by my own, and sometimes I also try to teach my friends because teaching is the best way to practice, and I'm trying to do that.
Oh, that's fantastic. I totally agree. The best way to learn something is actually to teach it. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Do you think that technology makes our lives easier or harder?
I would say easier because due to the blessings of technology, I mean, we are having different things like automated, and that's why we don't need to think much. And once in a blue moon nowadays, I just take notes or note down my, to-do list. Now I'm doing that due to the blessings of technology. I have online to-do list planner, and that's how the way technology is helping us. I mean, it's reducing our stress and workload. We can just make things done, or we can get things done easily than before, I will say.
Right. Now, earlier we were talking about technology and older people. I was saying I'm 55. I'm getting on. I'm not a spring chicken. Do you think that technology poses challenges for older people?
Obviously, it is. I mean, older people find it really difficult. As I have mentioned, that it's kind of rocket science for them because they are from an age where they didn't face that kind of technology. Their upbringing wasn't like that. And now they have to adapt all the new things. They have to adapt all this. And you are a smart guy. That's why you could do that. But in our country, and there are some silver surfers in our country. They're trying to do that, but I will not say they're an expert about it. They're trying really hard.
Right, right. I'm very proud to be a silver server, almost. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm smart. I think I'm very persistent, right? I just carry on and carry on and carry on.
Whatever I'm doing at the age of 20, you're doing at the age of 30, 55. It's really great, I would say.
Right. Thank you. What about computers? Do you use computers a lot? What do you use them for?
Well, I use computer a lot because what happens that all the activities I'm doing right now is based on computer. Without computer, it's like I cannot do a single day. I cannot take a single step without computer. Presently, we're shooting. I also take online classes of mine and through computer, and also I'm brushing up my skills, as I have mentioned before, through computer. I'm really into marketing. That's why I need to design. Yeah. Also, I'm doing that using softwares and computers. So, like, totally, I'm wrapped with technology, I would say.
Right. Interesting. Let's continue looking at some really nice phrases on the topic of technology. Again, I asked the question, have there been changes in technology in recent years? Right? Have there been changes? So something happening in the past up until today. And Abir says, we have been running up against great difficulties in terms of education. To run up against a problem is to face a problem or to hit a problem, right? We can say to run up against a problem, run up against a difficulty, run up against a challenge. I love that. Run up against. It should be a song. So he says we've been running up against great difficulties. Notice the tense, right? Present perfect continuous. We have been plus the verb in ing. We have been doing. The present perfect continuous is to describe an activity that began in the past and is happening again and again up until the present. Lovely, very nice. We have been running up against some difficulties in terms of education. Nice. He goes on to talk about skills and improving skills. He actually says they are working to skill up. Now, it's okay, but in fact, it's much more common to say to upskill. So people are working to upskill, right? That would be the better verb, to upskill, to improve your skills. Okay. On a similar idea, he talks about brushing up on my skills. I said, how do you hone your skills around technology, right? To hone, to improve your skills. He says, I take some online courses to brush up on my skills. Brush up on, 3 words, right? 1 sound. Brush up on my skills. To brush up on something is to refresh and improve. A skill that you've learned, but probably forgotten. Brush up on. Can you say that? Brush up on. Right. So maybe you want to brush up on your English or brush up on your typing skills. I don't know. Another question I ask is, do you think technology makes our lives easier or harder? Very common IELTS question, right? And he says, well, due to the blessings of technology, the blessings is an interesting word. It's often used around religion, to pray or to give a prayer. But here it means the help, right? Due to the blessings of technology is really thanks to the help of technology. Nice expression. Just to remind you, if you want a summary of all of this language, useful phrases, and the tips that come up in this lesson, you can download the PDF for free of this lesson. Just click on the link down in the description below and put in your name, your email, and then you'll get the PDF. And also, I can send you more information about, well, other resources and tips and lessons, all for free, to help you prepare for IELTS speaking. I'd like to come back to a topic we talked about earlier. You talked about being a student studying an MBA, and you mentioned about becoming an entrepreneur. So under this topic of business, right, do you think that it's better to work for a company or to be an entrepreneur?
Well, it depends. When we are starting in our early age, then we obviously can work for a company. We can have lots of knowledge from them. And it happens that when we are working for a company, they already have different kind of connections. So it's easy to talk with people, learn from them. But in this today's age, I mean, it's really, I mean, I will say if someone is just relying on job, they're not playing a safe bet. Because a few days ago, Meta laid off their 11,000 plus employees. So it's really risky. And in today's time, in our country, all over the world, the trained, or it's a great practice that youngsters are coming up with great ideas. They are working their butt off to make something new, bring about changes, to bring about breakthrough. So, to my way of thinking, or maybe it differs from person to person, but I'm really a great fan of being an entrepreneur.
Right, very interesting. And what about family businesses? Are there many family businesses where you live?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, in my country, what happens that youngsters are not that much likely to start something by their own. There are few, so I will not consider them minority. And in our country, I mean, there are some big businesses, and they're really from. I mean, they have a great family background. They have been doing that for 100 years or 50, 60 years. So yeah, family businesses. I mean, are really here. I would say.
What kind of I'm curious what kind of family businesses you have. I mean, where I live, we have typically the small shops and like the bakers and the butchers, the fishmongers. All of these are typically family businesses. What about in Khulna?
Like it's really great to hear my city's name by you. And the thing is that in my country, there are big corporations. They are run by family. I will mention one of them, and it's Bashundhara Group. It's Bashundhara Group. They are providing us all the basic commodities like tissue, paper, then
Mm.
other basic stuffs. And another thing is that I will say the steel or the business of construction. Infrastructural development is really good practice here. We are
Yeah.
a developing country, and different kind of groups like Akis or others are really doing great. I mean, they're running their business like it's a family legacy, I would say.
Right. Interesting. Very interesting. That's great. Now, we talk about the topic of business, and we talked about whether you should work for a company or be an entrepreneur. Abir said that people are laid off. Nice expression, right? To be laid off is to lose your job because of hard economic times, right? Different from to be fired, which means you lose your job because you're not good at it or you've done something wrong. To be laid off is just that the company cannot afford to keep you. He then said something that made me smile because it's very colloquial, and that was they are working their butt off to learn something new. To work your butt off is to work very hard. I smile because butt is your bum or your ass. So to work your ass off, it means to work very hard. I prefer working your butt off, right? Butt, double T. It's a nice expression. I think it's acceptable in IELTS speaking. It is very colloquial. I think it'll make your examiner smile, as it did me. We moved on to talk about family businesses in your country, in Bangladesh. Now, he said something interesting, and what I liked was the word stress. He said they are not that likely to start something by their own. The stress on that. They are not that likely, meaning they're not very likely, they're not that likely to start something by their own. He said by their own, it should be on their own, right? To do something on your own is to do it without help from other people, but nice. He then said, talking about family businesses or entrepreneurs, I consider them a minority. This is very, very nice, right? I consider is I think they are a minority. Okay. It means that it's similar to I think, but it really means, I've thought about it and I've decided that this is like this. So you could say, instead of I think it's important, I consider it important. Okay, very, very nice. We carried on to talk about family businesses, and he said these businesses are run by families. So to be run by or to be run is to be managed by. Nice. I also like the fact he's using the passive, right? So here we've got the subject plus to be plus the past participle by somebody, right? To be run by. So the businesses are run by families, meaning the businesses are managed by families. Lovely. Finally, he talks about it's a family legacy, I would say. So a family legacy is typically the money or maybe the business or the assets or even the values that are passed down to the next generation. So often a family business gets passed down to the sons and their children. It's a family legacy. Lovely. And I also love the fact he said it's a family legacy, I would say. Meaning, in my opinion, it's very simple English, but putting that at the end is actually very, very natural English. It's a family legacy, I would say. Beautiful. Very nice. I'm very interested to learn a bit about you and learning English as well. I mean, you speak excellent English. It's very clear. You have a beautiful use of vocabulary. How did you learn English?
Well, I will say I learned all this from YouTube and listening to other speakers. Because,
Wow.
yeah, as I have mentioned, I'm a great fan of speaking or providing or giving speeches. Down the road, it's like my dream that I will talk in front of millions of people. And
Right.
for this reason, I follow different kind of YouTubers. And you are one of them. You speak really great. The
Yeah.
way you make us understand, it's amazing. So, yeah, I have also listened and I have lots of podcasts in my phone every like all the time I keep listening to that, and every now and then I also visit different kind of English seminars. I try to participate in English competitions, and like that's a combined package, I would say.
That's interesting. So you're surrounding yourself with English, but
Yeah.
you're also actively practicing like in competitions and things like that. What about on a day-to-day basis? How do you practice speaking day by day?
If we talk about a day-to-day basis, then I'm practicing. I have one English partner. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's my companion, and with her all the time, whenever I get some time for myself, we love to while away that time by practicing. Because I mean, we belong from Bangladesh, and our native language is Bengali.
Right.
So, like to keep our practice, like keep practicing every day, we obviously need a partner. And yeah, like if we are not practicing every day, because environment is the invisible hand that shapes our behavior. So without practice, I may lose my skill, what I have right now. That's why I have to do that. And I also listen a lot of English songs and podcasts as well.
Interesting. Right. Yeah. I mean, we say in English, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's very true.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I also believe one of the mantra, which is execution is everything.
That's so true. I mean, it's lovely to hear you because you obviously have a lot of knowledge, but if people don't activate the knowledge, if they don't use it, it just sits there and they can't speak because it's not coming out of the mouth. So the activation is really important. Yeah, I agree. Now, you mentioned earlier when we were chatting that you've taken the IELTS test. Why did you do that and how did it go?
Well, I did that because I have already mentioned because of my dream. I want to speak a lot. I want to speak English in front of millions of people. And from Bangladesh, and it's really hard to adapt that accent. When you are in an environment, you can do that easily. But for me, it's like I have to work really hard making things pan out. Without that, it's not possible. And I have taken IELTS to just make sure that I'm doing great. And I have learned about that. That's an international standard test. And if I'm doing that, that's the first stage, and that will be really good for me in future. And in our country, it also happens that I mean, like if you have a good efficiency in English, you can have a good job as well. So yeah,
Right.
so I have taken that and I made a score of 7.5 overall. And in terms of English, in terms of speaking, which is very dear to my heart, that was 8, band 8.
Well done, you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'm not surprised, actually. That's great. You have great fluidity and lovely vocabulary. It's so interesting to listen how he learned English. And let me just kind of summarize, right? How he has become such a confident speaker. For me, there are three things that are clear, right? They jump out that he has done. First, he uses a wide range of resources. He mentioned he uses YouTube, listens to podcasts, he goes to English seminars. Absolutely brilliant. Second, he's highly motivated, incredibly motivated, right? He says he wants to become a public speaker. He wants to speak in front of hundreds, thousands of people. He also mentioned to me that he does like and wants to teach other people. Teaching is the best way to learn something. So his motivation is key. And that's so important because, you know, sometimes work and study gets so difficult. If you're not motivated, you will give up. So that high motivation makes him a good speaker. Finally, number three, he practices a lot, right? He practices with a partner every day. He goes to these competitions and takes part in them. He also told me outside the conversation that he practices until the language becomes automatic and the ideas just flow. So the practice is all important. And all of this, for me, makes him such a confident speaker. I didn't feel like he was a student trying to speak English. He was just a confident speaker. Could you share some tips, right, for students who are just starting to prepare for IELTS, especially IELTS speaking? Are there any tips that you could share?
Well, I mean, I have developed myself from the very scratch. That's why I can also share some of my experiences.
Yeah.
So the first thing I will try to or like to suggest everyone is that create an environment. Whatever you love, learn from that. Maybe you love to read books, you can learn from there. Maybe you love to watch YouTube videos, learn from there. That's pretty effective because when you are happy, your mind will work at its nicest. And another thing is that practice a lot because you know a lot of things and you are not trying to execute that on a regular basis. You will lose, as you have mentioned. If you don't use, you will lose, and that's really true. Maybe it will sound a bit cliche, but it's really true. And the last one, which is my personal tip, is that don't care a lot about answers or grammars or other things. Keep practicing. Okay, so whatever you have in your mind, try to just reflect that. It's like you have creativity in your mind and just try to reflect that on your canvas. That will be really effective in the long run. Because after all, in different situations, we need to deal with different topics, like sometimes technology, sometimes transportation or business or any other thing. And when you are really likely to share your own opinion naturally, that will boost up your confidence. And without confidence, you cannot perform. So that will be my tips. And the last one, but not least, I will try to mention is that don't learn huge amount of vocabularies. Because if I talk about the Asians, we love to learn maybe 1,000 or 2,000 vocabularies, but we cannot use that. So I sometimes it's puzzled. I cannot use everything. I have learned a lot, but it's not working. So don't do that. Learn little or a smart amount of vocabularies. Like keep the portion really low in the beginning. Learn some small things, try to execute that. Then when you are really okay with all the things you had, then try to scale that. Over time, learn more and more and use that. And I guess that's it.
That's fantastic. And I'm going to say I totally agree with what you say. I love your ideas. I think the focus on communication and creativity is really good because so many students block and stop because they're obsessed with the grammar. They're trying to think about the grammar and they can't speak. And the same problem with too much vocabulary, they can't speak and they block and they stop speaking. So I think your advice is golden, really nice, very, very good. That's excellent. Abir, I think we're going to wind up. It's been really interesting conversation. It's been lovely talking to you, learning about your ideas on topics and also about learning English. And I'm sure you will be an inspiration for many, many students, not only in Bangladesh, but I think in many countries around the world where they don't have an English environment and sometimes struggle. I think your advice and your speaking is great. Great. Lovely. Well, listen, thank you so much. It's great to see you. Let's stay in touch and I wish you all the best. Okay.
Yeah, yes, thank you too much as well. And I will ask you to say hi to Bangladesh. I guess I'm the first one who is talking with you from Bangladesh.
I will say a big hi to all of you and your family and friends in Khulna and across Bangladesh as well. Yes. Hello, everybody there. Thank you so much. Great. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.
So again, just let me summarize, right? Abir, who got an 8 in IELTS speaking, he mentions different tips for IELTS students. His tips were create an English environment, learn from things that you love, good, practice a lot, don't care too much about grammar, just speak out your ideas, okay? Yes, grammar's important, but don't think too much about it. And finally, don't learn a huge amount of vocabulary, right? Get a smaller amount of vocabulary, but activate it, execute it, use it. That's the key. Brilliant. Well, listen, this brings us towards the end of this video and this conversation, the IELTS speaking conversation with Abir. A big thank you, Abir, for doing this conversation. I hope it has helped all of you with ideas, with useful phrases, especially those of you trying to get up to that band 8 level. And I'm sure it will be an inspiration, not only for the students of Khulna and Bangladesh, but also the rest of the world. Thank you all of you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please do subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you want to find out about more upcoming videos. My new videos usually come out on Saturdays. And also, remember, if you want the PDF with all of this information and language from today's lesson, just click on the link down in the description and you can get that. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.